Welcome to a commentary on the Yogasutras that is meant to point you back to your true self. And my recommendation to you as you watch my my recordings, or also actually those of my colleagues, is obviously there is you will get some information that your mind is going to hopefully be inspired by, and that offers some clarity, but also always have more of an observation of what else is here. There's a dimension of yourself, of ourselves, that isn't separate and that isn't found in the mind. And so there is also something else that is spoken to and that actually receives these teachings on a different level. There's something else that is allowed actually to expand stronger and come more into the foreground of your experience, not by what is talked about, not by the contents of the mind. And so as you watch these kind of talks, be aware, for example, that at the end of it, there is a feeling of suspension, that you feel somehow suspended, that you feel somehow expanded. Become aware of that, even that feeling that you are somehow suspended, meaning there is a moment of no thoughts, a moment of a different form of quiet that is almost unknown to you, because the only quiet we know is when it is outside quiet and we find a moment of quiet. But there's also already a stillness that is already here. So become aware of how, when you watch all these teachers, actually all of us, one teacher in different forms, and what happens to you, what happens to afterwards, this feeling of, this strange feeling of somehow not instantly being placed again into your personal construct, not instantly being placed again into your mind stream. Having this experience consciously, becoming aware of what happens to you, being somehow suspended, knowing what it is when you are actually put back into being, not into the mind again. And all these other things that come up when watching these kind of talks: heart expansion, clarity. Become really aware. This comes from you coming into touch with a deeper dimension of yourself, with your true self. And it goes far beyond, again, what you conceptually maybe get inspired by, or what is becoming more clear through concepts, even what is energetically transmitted. It is more that you come into touch with that screen, with consciousness, and more distinct, subtle uh, forms that you then come into touch with distinctly, also like a form of clarity, like you feel suspended, and a form of clarity suddenly arises, or a form of heart expansion or love suddenly arises. And that's precious. So when watching these kind of talks, do not just cling to the words and what is conceptually understood, but notice yourself. You are already consciousness. You are already awareness. It is always now, right now, deeply listening, listening from beyond the mind, expanding as you from beyond the mind, as a happiness or a joy that can suddenly be caused just by watching. And afterwards, just suddenly, there's an eruption of happiness, an eruption of joy, an eruption of laughter, something that comes from a non-causal place. And so that's such, I can only tell you, it's such a beautiful discovery to make. It isn't just a mental discovery. It's a discovery that takes you far beyond the mind. You're coming into touch with your God self. And this comes then as something that suddenly occurs non-causally. This is like an eruption of clarity, an eruption of love, an eruption of joy or bliss, laughter, something that comes out of nowhere. That is you. That is you coming into touch with a dimension of yourself that was somehow hidden or somehow more in the background of your experience, not so presently, not so consciously perceived. And last week I talked about this great range of matter, actually, from a very specific form to more and more subtle. It is also relevant for all of you that really want to also experience non-separation, where this is part of your heart's desire or of your deeper soul's desire to get past this sense of separation, to actually see beyond the veil, to come into touch with what the ancient sages were always talking about, to come into touch with the universal I. And so this range of matter is also very helpful for you to understand, because the more specific something is, the more distinct, like you are very distinct also, the less universal it is. And the more you go back, even within this range of matter, the more unspecific it becomes, the more undifferentiated it becomes. And that means it also becomes more and more universal. So becoming more subtle, more and more subtle, is also about becoming more and more undifferentiated, or better said, watching from awareness, from the spacious awareness that you are, and seeing more from a spacious view. And the more undifferentiated something is, the more universal it actually is. So more subtle, more undifferentiated, and more then able to actually perceive the unified nature of even form, the unified field, the spacious exhibition of matter, the spacious exhibition of our unified essence, our unified nature. And so this can also help you to see where do I actually find those more universal qualities, is always by stepping yourself further back, stepping yourself further back, um, watching from spacious awareness, seeing from what is boundless and can actually become aware of a much wider space, isn't bound anymore at all. And the sutta that I wanted to talk about today is talking actually about you, your journey, your mission, your life, your distinct expression. And it says that consciousness needs you. It needs your mind. Even though consciousness is only pure, aware, even if you have never actually abided as awareness or witnessed from the space of awareness, if I ask you about awareness, what awareness is like, or what consciousness is like, you could already say, oh, it is pure. It doesn't hold this subjective stance. And even though consciousness is only pure, this sutra says, it needs the mind to perceive. It needs the mind to experience. It needs the mind, your mind, for your specific journey. Consciousness needs you to experience life distinctly through your values, through your eyes, through your journey. It's very specific. And obviously, it is also very specific to this moment of time. Oftentimes, people look back and they want to be like this. I want to be like Ramana Maharshi. I want to be like the Buddha. I want to be like Jesus. Imagine actually you would meet uh, one of these people nowadays, I think a guy that's running around your town and saying you are the sons and, and daughters of God. Would you actually believe him? Would you want to meet the Buddha, someone who spent his life seeking for the solution of suffering and sat there and fasted and did all these things and was extremely committed to finding something out? Would you sit next to that kind of sadhu if you met him in India and actually listened? And also to see that everyone has their distinct journey for a distinct moment of time. It is about you actually exploring something for consciousness, you being here for consciousness, for something distinct. So your life is a distinct exploration, a distinct mission. Your incarnation has purpose, it has meaning, it isn't random. Whatever you are exploring here is something that consciousness distinctly wants to explore through you. There's no one else here that has the same exploration. And because it's always also, again, one unified expression, it's one unified being. The more you step yourself back, consciousness itself is one unified beingness. But even on a grander scope, it's one unified exhibition of consciousness. It's one unified field, one unified creation, you could also say. And so your distinct exploration at this moment of time that we are all in is also valid, also holds value, is maybe different to how the sages explored it or found it or demonstrated it 2000 years ago. And also to see this, to know this for yourself, your mind, your expression, your life, distinctly important for consciousness at this moment of time. And also to see the wide range. Not everyone has to teach in the same way. Not everyone has to demonstrate what it means to be awake in the same way, in the same manner. It will be distinct to you. If you look at enlightened sages, like not just those that everyone knows, but if you find some more of them that existed, you will see they were very distinct and also distinctly different. Some of them were healing or are healers in a distinct way. Some of them are exhibiting this in a different manner. It is for you. It is distinct to you. It is distinct to what you are meant to be and show for consciousness. To be awake means to hand yourself over to consciousness. It is literally you're giving yourself over. You're discovering what is not a person. You're discovering what holds no more subjective stance. You're discovering what has no more sense of self. What is the no self? You're discovering this. So you're handing yourself over. And obviously, what you're discovering is yourself as consciousness or yourself as awareness. But that also implies you're handing yourself over to your God self. It's that God self that operates. It's that God self that actually already operates your life. If you can come into that trust that what is operating your life at every moment of time is already that God self, that even if you don't understand it, how what shows up as life is in your best interest, then you're actually already aligning yourself to this higher purpose that wants to show up through you distinctly, through your life. And so as you hand yourself over, as you awaken to consciousness, it sounds so nice, and it can still remain very mental. But what you're actually saying is you're handing yourself over to what is boundless. Now, how this shows up for you as you is distinct to you, and it isn't anymore in your hands. It is the divine showing up through you, through your life, through your distinct expression, through your mind, through your experiences. And it is incomparable because you are so distinct. You cannot compare it to someone else. You cannot compare it to, you shouldn't hope to emulate this or that. Try to realize the self. Be a good person until you awaken to yourself. Be a good person. Be kind. Be respectful. Don't harm others. Don't don't be mean to others, and be a really good person, and put everything, put your commitment, if liberation, if the true self, if self-realization is something that you might feel, maybe I will never be able to realize, but it's something your heart actually longs for. There's this deep desire in the heart. These kind of scriptures speak to you. These kind of even religions might speak to you. There is this deep arch, maybe not voiced. Unfortunately, I have to say, not voiced anymore. That people are saying, "I'm interested in liberation." You know, if you're not joining a monastic order, very difficult to say for many people because they feel, oh, it's not humble to say this. But maybe it is something that is actually deeply speaking to you and possible for you also because you're just discovering what you already are. But it also needs your commitment. It needs you to actually to listen to your heart. The heart is often not what screams. You know, the mind often screams, the desires scream. I want this, I want that, I want, I don't know, and I don't like this and I don't like that. That's often the mind, what's very loud, but just these more subtle promptings of your heart. I actually would love to be one with God. I actually would love to find out what I am. These kind of, I read these kind of scriptures of people that were realized from the past. It speaks deeply to me. There is something that I cannot put my finger on, but it really resonates more deeply. It touches me very deeply. Um, Listen to that. What actually deeply touches you, and also know this broad range. Know that you awakening is a gift, no matter whether you teach afterwards, no matter if you don't speak afterwards, no matter in what kind of uh, profession you work. Just know that this is deeply helpful, no matter where you're situated and what your life brings. And this sutta it reminds you that consciousness is already looking through your eyes. Your journey here was very distinct for consciousness, distinctly exploring certain themes, distinctly here for a certain dharma, for a certain um, for a certain purpose. Your incarnation is there for purpose. It is not random. What you have experienced is not random. What your heart, your journey is just a continuation. It's a continuation of what you have already done before. And again, what you can, if self-realization is what you are deeply committed to, then stay with that. Stay with that and be a good person. Be also a good person on this path. Don't don't forget that. It's also obviously it's really relevant and shouldn't be forgotten at all. So know this. You don't have to be like someone else. You don't even have to be like any of the past sages because we are at a different time and each one of you is distinctly as they are because consciousness wants you to be exactly as you are, exactly like this, exactly in the domains that you are working in, and to be awakening in all domains of society, no matter what you're working as, but to be awakening and bringing that awakening consciousness to those different domains is helpful. So that's the sutra that testifies to your importance for consciousness. Not to forget that this distinction is also necessary. And to know this. Namaste.